I'm sorry for stealing him away, but it couldn't be helped. I'm prepared for it, even if it means breaking off relations. But the house and Matt are all mine. I won't give them up to you. Nicole shouted, and Matt, as if consenting to her words, quietly handed me a piece of paper. It's the divorce papers. I've made up my mind, that's how it is. His voice was cold, with no hint of regret. I stood there speechless, shocked. At that moment, my mother, who was standing next to me, suddenly smiled. Are you all prepared to go to hell? My name is Jessica, a 27-year-old office worker. I met my husband Matt at a company drinking party. Initially, I thought he was quite unremarkable. But I realized he was unexpectedly humorous and sociable during our conversations. That day, Matt said to me, Jessica, you don't drink much, do you? Are you feeling unwell? Are you okay? Want some water? Thanks, but I'm fine. I'm just not very good with alcohol, so I'm holding back. It seems like you're being too cautious. Why don't you relax and enjoy yourself more? Encouraged by his words, I naturally began to spend more time talking with him. Although he appeared reserved, I gradually discovered his hidden kindness and reliability. After working on several projects together at work, we started having lunch together and occasionally going out for drinks after work. Our relationship slowly grew closer, and one day, Matt directly confessed his feelings. Jessica, I've actually been interested in you for a while. I really enjoy the time we spend talking, and I want to be with you more. If you're okay with it, would you like to date me? Caught off guard by his sincere gaze, but already attracted to him in my heart, I honestly answered. Thank you, I also enjoy being with Matt. It feels safe, so please take care of me too. As our relationship began, Matt always treated me with sincerity. We enjoyed simple dates like going for drives and watching movies on weekends. He always respected my opinions and feelings and cherished our time together. One day after a date, Matt suddenly said, Jessica, if you think about the future, I want to be with you forever. It might be too soon, but I'm seriously thinking about marriage. My heart fluttered at his words. Although it wasn't yet a concrete discussion, I could feel his seriousness and naturally responded with a smile. I feel the same way. With Matt, I can imagine walking through life together. Later, he formally proposed to me. It was at a simple and unadorned place during a usual date. But that moment felt very special. Jessica, will you marry me? Holding a small ring in his hand, I teared up and reached out to him. Yes, of course. After that, we were blessed by family and friends as we held our wedding ceremony and started a happy married life. Matt was successful in his career, and I had no doubts that our future was bright. Married life felt like a dream come true. Days spent with Matt were filled with happiness and everything felt fresh. We moved into a new apartment shortly after our marriage, starting our new life in a cozy and warm condo. We decided on the arrangement of furniture and interior decor together, and even slight disagreements were overcome with laughter. We often made breakfast together. Although Matt was not skilled in cooking, he wanted to help in the kitchen and always made simple salads. Watching him proudly show off when he cracked an egg perfectly was endearing. And I would laugh and respond, "Well done." I cherished every moment during that time. On weekends, we often spent leisurely days at home, sitting side by side on the sofa watching movies or reading books, sometimes cuddling and napping together. The time spent just being together was comforting and reassuring. Then one day, Matt brought up a sudden topic. Jessica, what kind of family would you like to have if we had children? After thinking for a moment, I answered, well, I'd like a family where laughter never ends. A family that can overcome difficulties together. Matt nodded and said, that sounds great. I think it will be a lot of fun when we have kids. He gently held my hand as he spoke. Every day, even the smallest events felt like treasures. When I returned home from work, Matt would greet me with a smile, and no matter how tired I was, his presence would energize me. We made it a routine to have dinner together and share the day's events. Today, I made a small mistake at work. When I shared this feeling down, Matt immediately reassured me. That happens to everyone. Don't worry, tomorrow will definitely be better. His words were always a great comfort to me. He was always there, supporting me. We cooked together, walked on weekends, and sometimes sat in a nearby cafe, drinking coffee and dreaming about the future. Matt always respected my opinions and thoughts. And there were no doubts or insecurities between us. Our newlywed life was indeed ideal. Days filled with laughter and mutual care. I truly felt fortunate to have married Matt. I was excited about our future together, looking forward to the happiness that awaited us each day. 2 years passed quickly after our marriage. We had a calm and happy life without any major conflicts. Being both employed, we naturally shared household chores. Matt was not good at cooking, but he was surprisingly efficient at cleaning and laundry, always smiling and saying, "Leave this to me." In the morning, we drank coffee together, asking, "What time will you be home today?" At night, we enjoyed dinner while sharing stories about our work. This was our normal daily routine. We also went on trips regularly. We visited hot springs and toured local attractions, creating many memories with each new place we visited. "Jessica, shall we go somewhere on our next day off?" When Matt suggested this, plans were quickly made. "That sounds great. I found a lovely cafe recently, let's have lunch there." Despite our busy schedules, we always found time to spend together. Amidst these happy days, one day Matt came to me with something to say. His expression was a bit stiff, different from usual. "Jessica, actually, it's a bit difficult to say, but I've been assigned to a solo assignment starting next month." "A solo assignment?" I was surprised and stared at him involuntarily. "Where are you going? How long will it be?" "It's a bit far in another state, and it seems it will be for about a year," he replied with a sigh. "A whole year?" I wasn't expecting us to be apart for so long. I was a bit shaken. We had always been together, so I couldn't imagine suddenly living apart. Matt looked down, apologetic. "I was told suddenly too. But if I miss this opportunity, it could affect my career. I really need this for my promotion." Hearing this, I was torn inside. In fact, he had changed jobs when we got married. I understand that his job is important, and I want to support him in pursuing his dreams and goals. But still, the thought of being apart for a year made me feel lonely. After some hesitation, I had no choice but to agree. "All right. If Matt says so, I'll support him. A year will fly by, right? When you come back, we can live like we used to, right?" He smiled reassuringly. "Yeah, of course. I'll definitely come back after a year. So even if we're apart for a while, we'll be fine. We'll call each other every day, I won't let you feel lonely." Those words gave me some relief, but I couldn't completely erase the loneliness. However, I decided to endure it for Matt's sake. "So, I guess I'll have to do the housework alone for a while. When you come back, you'd better help out," I said jokingly, and Matt laughed and replied, "Of course. I'll work harder than ever when I return." Thus, his sudden solo assignment was decided, but for our future, I reluctantly accepted this reality. I was a bit anxious about how our relationship would change over this year, but I was determined to send him off with trust in Matt. From then on, we began our long-distance relationship. Matt seemed busy with work, calling whenever he could. But he only came home about 2 or 3 times a month. Initially, I thought we'd see each other more often, but due to work circumstances, this was the reality. On the phone, I could tell he was very busy. Even when tired, he always spoke positively, "I'm okay, I'm working hard." "How was work today?" I'd ask, and Matt would laugh a bit before replying, It was busy, but it went well. How about you? He always cared about me. Despite feeling lonely not being able to see him. Listening to his thoughts gave me some comfort. When Matt was home, he cherished our time together. On nights he returned, we'd have dinner slowly. And he'd talk about his work and experiences at the assignment. Recently, I went to a local delicious Italian restaurant with a colleague for an assignment. It was really tasty. I hope we can go there together next time. He said this cheerfully. That sounds nice. I like Italian food too. So it'd be great if we could go together someday. I truly enjoyed conversations like these with him. When Nat was home, even trivial conversations made me happy. Watching TV together, tidying up the house, time spent together was invaluable. But when he had to return to the assignment, the loneliness surged again. As I saw him off, I couldn't help but wish we could be together more. Take care, you'll be back soon. Matt would say, showing me a smile, but sometimes that smile felt a bit distant. Yet, knowing he was also working hard, I told myself to focus on my job too. There was a sense of loneliness due to the distance. But feeling that we were supporting each other was real. As I felt him striving, I too poured my energy into work, determined to get through the days together. While living apart from Matt, I started to seriously think about my future. When we have children, I want to have some financial flexibility. That's why I decided to save more now and work on increasing my salary. If Matt is working hard, I can't lag behind either. Encouraging myself, I started studying for a qualification necessary for promotion. Studying every day after work was tough. But I motivated myself by thinking of our future. One day, I finally received notification that I had obtained the qualification. I immediately called Matt. Matt, I did it. I got the qualification. I reported excitedly. Really? That's great, Jessica. All your hard work paid off. Matt's voice was filled with surprise and joy. Yes. Now a promotion is in sight. I'm going to work even harder and increase our income. That's impressive. When I get back, let's go eat something delicious as a reward. His words warmed my heart. Then, the promotion was quickly decided. When I told Matt, he praised me. Jessica, you're really amazing. I need to work harder too. I was overwhelmed with joy. Matt would be back in a few months. By then, I wanted to increase my income even more, so that we could live a more comfortable life together. My dreams continued to expand. When Matt returns, I want to go on an overseas trip. Oh, and maybe we could even build a new house. I couldn't stop feeling excited. There were so many things I wanted to do with him. With these thoughts, I decided to visit my hometown on the weekend. I wanted to share this happy news with my mother. When I opened the door, my mother greeted me. You're back again? My mother laughed a bit surprised. Yes, I had some time. Plus, I have something to report. I started the conversation immediately. A report? What happened? My mother asked with interest. Well, I got a qualification and my promotion was decided. Matt praised me a lot. I spoke happily. My mother smiled and said, That's wonderful, Jessica. You've worked hard. Your father would have been so proud if he were alive. Yeah. I wish I could have shown him. But from now on, I'll work even harder to be a daughter you can be proud of. Since my father passed away last year, my mother had been living alone. I regretted not visiting more often, but with Matt's solo assignment, I had been returning home more frequently this year. I've been coming back quite often this year, right? I said, and my mother laughed. Yes, I never thought you'd come this often. But it's definitely nice. Seeing your face gives me energy. Seeing my mother's smiling face, I felt relieved again. While focusing on work, I also realized the importance of cherishing time with my family. While talking with my mother at home, she suddenly asked about my sister Nicole. I wonder how Nicole is doing. I haven't seen her since your father's funeral. There was a hint of loneliness in my mother's voice. I thought for a moment before answering. True, I haven't seen her since the funeral either. But Nicole has been living in another state since graduating from university. And probably doesn't have the time to come home. She's probably busy with work, and maybe she can't afford to take time off for a visit. While saying that, I realized that I myself hadn't been in contact with Nicole for a while. Nicole and I have never been particularly close, even from childhood. It's not that we fought or disliked each other, but we weren't particularly close either. Perhaps you could call it maintaining a comfortable distance. When we meet at New Year's or during the Easter, we simply exchange greetings and make small talk, nothing more in-depth than that. So, it's understandable that my mother would be concerned. It's true that Nicole seems to not place much emphasis on family ties. However, I didn't particularly see it as a problem. Nicole has her own life. And I am busy with my own. We have continued to maintain a relationship where we don't intrude too much into each other's lives. I haven't been in much contact with Nicole either. It's not that we are on bad terms, but we're not particularly close. Even with Matt, I only briefly introduced him during a family meeting. And we haven't really spoken much since. But I've been fine with that, and I think it's okay. My mother seemed thoughtful but agreed, yes, Nicole is probably busy. And it must be hard to contact her forcibly. However, a hint of worry remained on her face. Maybe Nicole has a boyfriend over there. I haven't heard much about that, and it's a bit curious. But well, it's fine if she doesn't talk about it herself. I mentioned this lightly as a joke to my mother. She smiled and responded. Well, Nicole has always been able to be on her own. If she can solve things by herself, maybe that's okay. Yes, Nicole has always been the type to handle her own matters. That's why I've also tried not to interfere too much. And it seems Nicole has wanted it that way. It's been working out well. And I haven't felt any issues. So, I thought maintaining this distance would be fine in the future. However, at that time, I never imagined that such a significant betrayal was waiting. I thought the distance I maintained with Nicole was appropriate. But later I would come to regret that decision. Months passed. And the day finally arrived when Matt would return from his solo assignment. I was waiting for him at the entrance, unable to contain my excitement. The moment the door opened and Matt appeared, tears spontaneously flowed. Jessica, I'm home. Matt said with a gentle smile. Overwhelmed with emotion. I murmured a welcome back, and he hugged me tightly. His warmth transferred to me, and I buried my face in his chest. Must have been lonely, huh? It's okay now, we'll always be together from now on. His voice was kind and enveloping me with a sense of security. Yes, I've been very lonely. But I'm so happy that Matt is back. Now we can spend more time together again. As I clung to him with unstoppable tears, he reassured me. That's right. They told me there won't be any more solo assignments for a while. So we can be together. His words truly comforted me. Then, our life under the same roof began again. I hadn't realized how happy being at home could be after such a long time. Waking up in the morning with Matt sleeping next to me filled my heart. Being together like this is the best, isn't it? I muttered while we ate breakfast. That's right. I'm also happy to be able to spend time at home with Jessica. Matt answered cheerfully. His words naturally brought a smile to my face. The house felt warmer with Matt there. I realized anew how significant his presence was for me. But really, how was it? Living there, it must have been tough, right? I wanted to hear about his work and asked him. Well, it was busy, but everyone was nice and they helped me a lot. Also, the times I could talk to you really supported me. Thanks to our many phone calls, I felt like I could overcome the loneliness. Matt answered sincerely. His words made me say. I also managed to keep going because Matt was there. I'm really happy you're back. Matt's return meant we could go back to our old life. When we went to bed together at night, I had never thought being next to him could feel so comfortable. I savored the happiness of him being beside me, and quietly enjoyed the moment for a while. Some time after Matt returned, I decided to bring up a plan I had been considering. It was a proposal to move. There was a vacancy in a high-rise near both of our workplaces, and I brought up the idea of living there. Matt, I have something to talk about. How about moving to a new place? There's a vacancy in a high-rise apartment near our workplaces. I proposed nervously. He looked surprised and asked anxiously. A move? That's sudden. But a high-rise, isn't it expensive? It's okay. I've been promoted and my salary has increased. So we should be able to afford it comfortably. It would make commuting easier for both of us, and the house would be bigger. I explained confidently. Matt thought for a while and then smiled. If Jessica says so, maybe moving isn't such a bad idea. Eventually, he was persuaded. 2 months later, we finally moved to that new residence. The high-rise apartment was very clean and spacious, truly an ideal home. I felt truly happy to be able to live there with Matt. I felt excited. How about it? It's spacious, isn't it? When I asked Matt, he looked around the room and answered happily. Yeah, it's very spacious and comfortable. I'm looking forward to living here. As life in the new home began, it was surprisingly comfortable to live in. Being closer to the company reduced our commuting time, and we could return home earlier. This allowed us to approach housework with more leeway. Thanks to that, our busy daily lives gradually became easier. And amidst this happy life, an even more joyful event was waiting for me. One day, when I was feeling a bit unwell, I went to the doctor for a checkup. And to my surprise, I found out I was pregnant. Matt, I'm pregnant. I reported with a pounding heart. He showed a moment of surprise, but soon smiled broadly. Really? That's great, Jessica. I'm so happy for you. I'm very happy too. I can't believe we're going to have our child. I felt his warmth as tears welled up in my eyes. From now on, I'll support you even more. Jessica, take it easy and let's prepare gradually. Matt's words made me feel even more secure. From then on, I decided to cut back on work and gradually prepare for the birth. Matt and I had been doing well for a while since his return. However, because he was expected to work, the company ordered him to go on business trips frequently instead of extending his solo assignment. They said instead of extending the solo assignment, I should go on business trips 2 or 3 times a month. It means I can come home, but I'll have a lot of trips. I'm sorry. It will be a lot of business trips, but it's enough for me that you come home. I replied with a smile, though I honestly felt a bit uneasy. Especially since I was pregnant, I was worried about spending more time alone. When the business trips actually started, the nights without him were indeed lonely. It was particularly tough when my morning sickness worsened, often feeling unwell during the night. During such times, my mother came to stay with me. Her presence was a great relief during the pregnancy, helping with household chores and managing my health. Without her support, getting through this difficult period would have been much harder. Unexpectedly, labor started much earlier than the due date. I was shocked and panicked, unprepared for the pain. My mother, who happened to be at home, calmed me down. Supported by her, I headed to the hospital. Unfortunately, Matt was away on a business trip at the time. When I called him, he said, I'm sorry, I can't come back right away, but I'll get there as soon as I can. Hearing his voice provided some comfort. But it was still disheartening that he couldn't be there. The birth began shortly after I arrived at the hospital. And it was more difficult than expected. I felt like giving up several times due to the pain. Jessica, just a little longer. You can definitely do this. My mother encouraged me as she held my hand tightly. Her words gave me the strength to persevere, and I managed to get through the delivery. The moment I heard my child's cry, I was relieved and tears rolled down my cheeks. When the nurse handed me the baby, I was overwhelmed with emotions I had never felt before. I was determined to protect and cherish this child who had arrived after such a struggle. Jessica, you did so well. Truly, well done, my mother said. Her eyes also teary as she praised my efforts. The next morning, Matt finally made it to the hospital. Seeing me and the baby, he immediately picked up the baby and said gently, Jessica, amazing. Thank you. You've done so well. The birth was really tough, but I'm glad the baby arrived safely. I was still exhausted, but Matt's presence brought some relief. However, due to work commitments, he couldn't stay long. I'm sorry. I have to return to the business trip soon. But let's talk more when I get back and you're discharged. With those words, he returned to his trip. I felt a pang of loneliness. But holding my beloved child, I was filled with happiness. A few days later, I was discharged from the hospital and returned to our new home with my mother. It had been a while since I had been home. But when I opened the front door, I was met with a shocking sight. Matt, my sister Nicole, and a small child were there. What? I was speechless at the completely unexpected scene. My mother stood beside me, equally stunned. It had been a long time since I had seen my sister, and I couldn't understand why she was here or who the child was. As we stood there in shock, Nicole smirked and spoke up. Surprised? This child is Matt's and mine. What are you talking about? I couldn't believe my ears. The place where Matt was on solo assignment was where I was living. He purposely took an assignment where I was. What do you mean? I was speechless, struggling to grasp what was happening. He told me he fell in love at first sight when he first met me during the marriage introduction. Then things naturally progressed, and I ended up pregnant. Nicole spoke nonchalantly, without any sign of remorse. He said he'd stay here for a while to be with me after the birth. He's really a great guy, so handsome. That's impossible. I couldn't believe that Matt would do such a thing. He just stared at me silently. Matt chose me. So I'm taking this new house. What are you saying, Nicole? This is our home. Matt is my husband. Anger surged within me, and I raised my voice. Sorry for taking him away, but it can't be helped. I'm ready for whatever happens, even if it means breaking off relations. But this house and Matt are all mine. I won't give them to you. Nicole shouted, and Matt, as if consenting to her words, quietly handed me a piece of paper. It's a divorce paper. I've made up my mind, that's how it is. His voice was cold, with no sign of regret. I stood there, stunned and speechless. At that moment, my mother suddenly smiled. Are you prepared to go to hell? Both Nicole and Matt looked shocked and bewildered at her words. What? I'm ready for breaking off relations, but there's no way I'm going to hell. Nicole retorted. My mother continued calmly. You said you're taking this house, but can you afford the rent? I doubt you two have that much spare cash. What? But Matt has been living here just fine, so it should be okay? Nicole answered uneasily. That's because Jessica's income was also part of it. Plus, you've been living here at a significantly reduced rent. What? What are you talking about? Why does Mom know so much about the rent for this house? Nicole looked at my mother suspiciously. That's because I'm the owner of this high-rise apartment. My mother stated calmly but firmly. What? In that moment, Nicole and Matt's faces turned pale. Nicole exclaimed. I didn't know that, but my mother started explaining. She had been investing for a long time and had considerable assets. Nicole had a personality that tended to depend on others. and was good at living without much effort. Thinking that Nicole might stop working and become lazy if she knew the family was wealthy. My mother had always hidden this fact from her. Nicole was stunned by this reality but quickly regained her composure and demanded, "Then give me the same cheap rent as Jessica. I'm a daughter too. So it's only natural, right?" My mother chuckled and replied calmly, "You said you were prepared for breaking off relations, right? Then I can't give you a discount. The rent will be $5,000 a month, you'll need to pay it in full." "I can't afford that," Nicole shouted, her face turning red, but my mother remained unmoved. "Then you'll have to leave." At my mother's words, both Nicole and Matt changed color and seemed to want to say something, but no words came out. Seeing this, I decided it was time to fight back. "Matt, you betrayed me, right? So, you'll have to pay the compensation properly. And child support for our child as well." Matt, in a panic, tried to say we would discuss it later. But I had completely lost any feelings for him. I would never forgive him. "I'll have a lawyer get in touch with you soon to make the claims. So both of you better be ready." When I said this, Nicole and Matt slumped down. "What are you doing? You need to leave right now. I'll report this as trespassing if you don't." My mother spoke coldly, and they hurriedly got up, gathered their belongings, and left with their child. I couldn't believe that Matt had not only had an affair with Nicole but also had a child in secret. His deceit felt as cold as a con artist's. But I would never forgive them. Their mistake was not realizing that my mother owned this high-rise apartment and held significant power. Previously, my mother had offered to transfer the ownership of the high-rise apartment to us, but I had decided to pay rent instead. My mother had laughed and called me stubborn. But that stubbornness helped me repel Nicole and Matt this time. Afterward, I filed for compensation from Matt and Nicole, and also made sure Matt paid child support. The affair became known at his company, causing him to be seen in a negative light, and his career plummeted as it was revealed he had requested the solo assignment because of his affair. As a result, Matt was demoted and his salary significantly reduced. Now, he and Nicole and their child live in a shabby apartment, struggling to make ends meet while paying compensation and child support. Nicole regrets her actions, saying this wasn't what she had planned, and she argues daily with Matt. I feel sorry for the child being raised by them. But honestly, it serves Nicole and Matt right. On the other hand, I decided to move from the high-rise apartment back to my family home. It made more sense to rent out the high-rise apartment at full price for my mother's income, and living with her would be a big help as I raise my child as a single mother. My mother is looking forward to spending time with her grandchild and me. I never imagined this outcome. But now we are enjoying happy times together as a family of 3 generations. I plan to continue watching over my child's growth while dedicating myself to work and earning more.